Andrei Tarkovsky is one of the most influential filmmakers of the 20th century. He is known for his profound exploration of metaphysical themes through cinema. His works are visually striking, layered with symbolic meaning, and deeply philosophical. Among the recurring motifs in Tarkovsky's films, the elements of earth, air, fire, and water play a vital role, acting not just as visual representations of nature, but as conduits for exploring existential questions, human consciousness, and spiritual experiences. In Tarkovsky's films, especially in Solaris, Stalker, Mirror, and The Sacrifice, the elements are not simply natural phenomena, but are imbued with psychological and metaphysical significance. They serve as essential narrative tools, shaping the emotional and spiritual landscapes of the characters and the films themselves. Through these elements, Tarkovsky invites the audience to reflect on human life, the passage of time, memory, and the eternal quest for meaning. In Tarkovsky's cinematic world, Earth is often depicted as both a literal and symbolic foundation. It represents the physical world, the grounding force in human existence, and perhaps paradoxically, a place of confinement and suffering. It is through Earth that Tarkovsky often communicates the heaviness of human life, the burden of existence, and the inescapable nature of time. In Stalker, Earth is symbolized by the landscape of the zone, a mysterious and dangerous place that reflects the inner turmoil and existential desires of those who venture into it. The earth in the zone is not just the soil underfoot. It is a living, shifting force, ever-changing and often unfathomable.
Множество людей. Не так много, как бы мне хотелось.
The journey through the zone is a confrontation with human desires and fears, with the earth acting as the physical manifestation of this struggle. The mud, the rocks, and the ominous nature of the terrain reflect the inescapable nature of suffering and the pursuit of redemption. Similarly, in The Sacrifice, the barren, desolate landscapes echo the internal crisis faced by the protagonist, Alexander. The earth here is not nurturing or life-giving. It is dry, cracked, and devoid of hope, mirroring the character's existential anguish and the fragility of human life in the face of potential catastrophe. Earth, then, represents the complex relationship between humanity and the material world. It is the birthplace of life, but also the place of suffering, decay, and death. Tarkovsky uses Earth to ground his films in the tangible, reminding the viewer of the inescapable reality of existence, yet also suggesting that transcendence might lie beyond the limitations of the physical world. Air in Tarkovsky's films is often associated with the intangible, the spiritual, and the breath of life itself. It represents the potential for freedom, transcendence, and the movement of the soul beyond earthly confines. In Mirror, Tarkovsky uses air to suggest the passage of time and the fluidity of memory. The shifting of clouds, the winds that blow across the landscapes, and the delicate interplay of light and shadow are symbolic of the constant flux of thought, recollection, and identity. The air in Mirror is not just a physical element. It is a visual manifestation of the spiritual and emotional currents that define the human experience. Air, in Tarkovsky's films, becomes a metaphor for life itself, invisible, uncontainable, and full of potential. It embodies the fluidity and changeability of the human soul and suggests that true freedom lies in the ability to move beyond the physical constraints of the world. In Tarkovsky's world, Fire is rarely a simple element. It is a symbol of the human struggle with the divine, a representation of passion, transformation, and the possibility of rebirth through suffering. In The Sacrifice, fire takes on a redemptive role, as the film's protagonist, Alexander, offers a sacrificial act to prevent an impending nuclear catastrophe. The final scene of the film, in which a house is set ablaze, serves as a metaphor for both destruction and spiritual purification. The flames consume the material world, but in their wake, there is the possibility of spiritual transcendence. The fire here is both an end and a beginning, echoing Tarkovsky's recurring theme of the cyclical nature of existence. In Stalker, fire is less visually dominant but still resonates thematically. The fire represents a catharsis, a transformative force that burns away the detritus of the soul, leaving only what is pure. Fire, in Tarkovsky's films, symbolizes both the destructive aspects of human nature, greed, desire, and violence, and the possibility of spiritual purification through suffering and sacrifice. It is a force that burns away the superfluous, forcing the individual to confront their innermost truths. Water is perhaps the most evocative of the elements in Tarkovsky's films. It is both a symbol of life and death, a fluid force that shapes the landscape and the inner world of the characters. Water in Tarkovsky's films represents the passage of time, the fluidity of memory, and the cyclical nature of existence. In Mirror, water is intimately tied to the concept of memory. The fluidity of water reflects the shifting, often elusive nature of recollection. Water's motion, its gentle flow, its stillness, its ability to reflect or distort mirrors the human mind's constant flux of thoughts, memories, and experiences. In Solaris, the ocean on the planet Solaris is an embodiment of the unconscious, an infinite, ever-changing entity that reflects the inner thoughts and desires of the humans who interact with it. Water here is not just a natural element, but a representation of the emotional and psychological depths that the characters struggle to understand. The ocean's power to reflect the characters' inner worlds, while remaining entirely alien and unknowable, highlights the tension between human consciousness and the vast, unfathomable forces that lie beyond it. Water, in Tarkovsky's world, represents both the mystery of life and death, the flow of time, and the perpetual movement of the human spirit. It is a symbol of both reflection and distortion, of the mind's ability to shape and reshape reality. In Andrei Tarkovsky's films, the elements of earth, air, fire, and water are not simply visual motifs or atmospheric devices. They are metaphysical forces that represent the profound spiritual and existential themes central to his work. Each element plays a unique role in shaping the emotional and philosophical dimensions of his films, guiding the audience through a cinematic landscape that reflects the complexity of human existence. Tarkovsky's use of these elements reveals his belief in the interconnectedness of nature, the human soul, and the cosmos. Earth, air, fire, and water are not just parts of the material world. They are the very forces that shape our lives, our consciousness, and our search for meaning in an often incomprehensible universe. Through these elements, Tarkovsky's films offer a meditative journey into the depths of the human experience, inviting viewers to confront their own place in the world and the mysteries that lie beyond.